Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Chances are, if you clicked on this video, you're wondering, what is it exactly to do in Warframe and what's the best choices? Well, for starters, let's say you're just now picking your Warframe, or you are wondering what to pick if you've made a mistake on your first choice picking a Warframe. My best recommendation to you is Mag. Mag can do it all. Oops, getting ahead of myself. But since I teased you, let's go ahead and show you. Mag can do it all. You can pull enemies into a group, great grouping. It's a literal ball that is easy for dispatch. She can magnetize. What that does is it puts a ball around the enemies and attracts any gunfire into the center, and whenever the duration is done, the ball then explodes and vaporizes anything in its vicinity. Polarize is an armor strip. What it does is it takes away the enemy's defenses and shields, recharging any allies in the vicinity or that get touched by it, which is great for team members. And it also leaves behind these little shrapnel nuggets that can be pulled towards you with pull. Those shrapnel nuggets, whenever an enemy gets close to them, will get procced with slash. What slash does is it essentially bleeds the target. It's a damage over time that goes through armor, which is very good. Maybe not the slash nuggets from Mag, but slash in general is very good.
Tenno, a new alert has begun. It will be marked on navigation.
Thanks, Lotus. Crush is also very good, regardless if you don't have the mod or not. Going from beginner level to like level 50s, Crush is going to be great, even without an augment. It gets crazier with an augment, and maybe we'll talk about in this video if I remember. But what Crush does is it suspends any enemies that's in the vicinity in the air, and basically Ermac crushes them, like compacts them into a ball, and then drops them, while giving you shield. It gives you and your allies shield, and if you already have max shield, it gives you over shield, which is crazy. Really good. Jumping from the abilities over to what you would generally want for your starting, just starting off. Let's cover the mods and then we'll go over to the abilities stats, which are pretty self-explanatory. But first you would want Intensify, which is ability strength, Stretch for that little bit of range, Flow so you can have more energy to pull from, 530, Redirection so you have more shields, a whopping 1060, Corrosive Projection, if you can get it. You don't really need it, but if you can get it, get it. You get by with just a steel charge. That's completely fine. But if you have corrosive projection, it's better because it reduces the enemy armor by 18%, and that's just for you existing in the mission. The enemies are weaker because you exist. That sounds good to me. And then Streamline for the extra bit of ability efficiency, so you can spam those polarizes or your abilities without worrying too much about energy, but you're not really going to worry about energy. So duration is how long an ability that has a timer lasts. The more duration, the better. Efficiency is how often you can use an ability, or it lessens the energy drain per ability. If you see here at the very top, it says it tells you the drain that it has. Take that off, the drain's up to 50. 50 is like a huge chunk, right? But out of 530, not so much. Streamline still helps a ton though. Range, self-explanatory, it's how far your ability reaches. And then strength, also self-explanatory, it's how strong your ability hits. With Mag, strength really isn't your go-to. because she doesn't really need it. Her abilities really circle around how much damage your enemies are putting into her bubble, because the thing with Magnetize, not only does it take in the projectiles that you shoot into it, but it also takes in the enemy's projectiles as well, and then it spits it all back out. That's really good if you can put it on a doorway. If you can get an enemy in a doorway and then throw that on him, all of the enemies that are coming in will get sucked in there, and they'll just keep shooting, and all that damage will keep absorbing, and then you got a nuke on your hands. So before I get sidetracked again and go into the weapons without going over it, let's talk about this actions button here, because it's very important. So you click on it and you're like, what's going on here? Auto install. This is going to set up, like, this is going to throw any mods that you have in there that the game thinks that you would be good. And generally speaking, it's not that good. It's really not that good. Do not hit this button, okay? Unless you're really desperate. Anyway, this is an Orkan reactor. This is what we call a potato in the community. There are gold and blue potatoes. Blue potatoes are for weapons. Golds are for Warframes and your companions. I would only ever advise using a potato in a Warframe if you really like that Warframe and you're not going to get rid of it like anytime soon. They go for 20 platinum on the market. Not via, you can't trade these via players. You have to go to the in-game market and get them with 20 platinum, which is the best investment you could get, because all players come with all new players come with, I think, like 40 platinum. So the best thing that you can get is either one of each or two of each. That being reactors, callus, or callus, reactor, so on. Then we got polarize. These are forma. These are the three types of forma. This is an umbral forma. For the umbral mods, there are only 3 umbral mods, and that's the beginning and end of that. Aura forma. Aura forma are specifically for the aura slots, and what they do is, it does not, whenever you put it in, it does not matter what polarity the aura is. So see, this is a dash polarity, and it's an innate dash polarity, so it would automatically fit there. Whenever you put an aura forma in, that becomes an omni, pretty much an omni thing. So you could put a V polarity and it'd still give you a green with more capacity. And then there are some aura mods like this one that have like a circle, a broken circle at the top right. They can also be put in anything like that with benefit, which I think is very nice. Very, very nice. And then you have the regular forma. The regular forma just changes a blank slate or a blank mod slot into something like this, or it could change an existing polarity into whatever else you need it to be. Very good. Very, very good. Then you have swap polarity. You can only do this whenever you form something, so it's not really that important. You can just like take this, move it over here, take this, move it over here. It's just if you want to like tidy some things up, make it look nicer to you, I guess. It's not really something you would use on Warframes, maybe on weaponry to get certain combinations to stick. And then focus lenses. Focus lenses are for gaining focus for a thing called your operator. That is way into the later bit of the game, so I don't think it's relevant for this video to talk about it. Just know that this is completely irrelevant until after the second dream mission, so you can ignore this until then. On to the weapons. So this is a beginner friendly, well, hold on. Now it's a beginner friendly setup. Out of your first mission, this is what you're going to end up with eventually. Maybe with split chamber, or maybe not. Doesn't really matter. But these are the statuses I was talking to you about. So heat strips armor for 50%, and viral goes straight to health up to 325%. Very good, very, very good. What you could do is corrosion, which also is very effective with stripping armor. Removes up to 80, and then whenever you shoot something, it just has no armor. That'd be nice, but you don't really need it because I wouldn't say that's overkill. Maybe for a priming weapon, which is dedicated to just stripping armor, you're not going to be doing too much damage with the setup in most cases. So what you'd be better off just with viral, because viral does straight health damage. The same thing applies for modding and orkin stuff. Potatoes here. We got formas here. We got polarize or polarities. Focus lenses, same thing. Sidearms are pretty much the same thing as primaries. You see I have a in-game mod here, galvanized. Comes from a much later game mode down the line, don't need to worry about it. It has its own equivalent to Hornet, or to duration, as you saw. It's called Hornet Strike. You will get this relatively early in the game. It's very good up until you get the galvanized mods, and in which case you would have to, or you would want to take it off, because comparatively they would end up adding like drops in the bucket, so to speak. So yeah, moving on to melees. So with melees, they're a bit different. So what you would do here is mod it for corrosion, mostly with heat if you can make it. I'm just going to show you this build. This is what you generally want to go for. If you don't have prime pressure point, you can go for regular pressure point. These are dual stat mods. These can only be gotten from a guy named Barrow Katir. He's a guy that comes every other week, or other weekend rather, on one of the relays. And you don't need to worry about you missing him whenever he's arriving, because he has his own little icon that comes up on the navigation panel whenever he's close to being here, or whenever he is here. He will also give you a message in your inboxes whenever he is here, so you don't need to be afraid to that. Didn't talk about it because I'm a bit scatterbrained, of course, but crit chance, crit multiplier, and status, all very important when looking at a weapon. Normally you're going to be looking for something around like 15 to 20% crit chance whenever you're looking for a viable weapon. Depending on the crit chance, you're going to want to bump that critical multiplier. If it doesn't have a critical or good critical multiplier, then it's kind of meh. One of the best critical multipliers that you want to look at is like a 1.5 or 2.5. At that point, it's a crit weapon, and then you want to dump heavily into crit, like these mods entail. Status is status. Status chance just dictates how often your status procs. If it goes over 100%, you have the chance to inflict multiple status in one hit. For melees, I guess that's okay. Generally, it's a non-issue because your attack speed will be too fast, or so fast that it doesn't matter. So yeah. So let's talk about mods and endo and all that good stuff. So mods are these card-like things that you can upgrade with endo over here, and whenever you upgrade them, it does increase the drain. You see how it went up from 4 to 5? That does increase the drain. Drain on Warframes and weapons means less capacity, so you would have to use a format to change the polarity so you can slot in more expensive or more higher draining mods. Generally, those are better, but not always. Sometimes you get a terrible mod that costs like 15 capacity, and in which case we just ignore them because they are not good. But in order to upgrade a mod to any capacity, you need endo and credits. Credits are non-issue. You will get them all the time, everywhere you go. Endo, on the other hand, can be a pain to grind, especially whenever you're a starter or just starting out, but it is very important for later mods or later in the game. It's just really nice to have an abundance of, and very important. A good way to get endo is via item treasures. Item treasures spawn randomly throughout the system on any mission, on any map. You can get item stars from breaking containers, cyan and amber. From just breaking any containers, it doesn't matter what kind. They have, I'd like to say, the same amount of chance everywhere. So The thing is with these sculptures is whenever you pick one up, it's not going to have any stars in it. Like here. Well, this one has stars in it, but imagine that these are missing. And then you could slot them in. Doing that increases the value of the endo that you can sell them. And yeah, that's a source. It's a pretty good source of getting endo. You visit Maru over here in her bazaar on Mars, I think it is. And you give them to her, and you can get endo out of it. She'll extract endo out of it. Alternatively, if you have an abundance of these, if you ever find yourself with an abundance of these, like I do, you can trade them with other players for, I'd say, roughly 15 plat per 2 sculptures, but that's just me. I haven't traded these things in quite some time. Alright, moving on. Over here is your foundry. This is where you would go to build like Forma, Warframes, Warframe parts, material, and weapons. And that's all there is to the foundry. Pretty self-explanatory. All of this is just, yeah, this is just resources, but yeah, that's the foundry. Now we get to where to go. We've covered all the basics, what you need to know about the systems just starting out, and now you want to know what weapons to use or go for, and where to go, like in general, or like what your path is from here. So let's start with the weapons that you want to go for. So first, a great starter weapon is the Bolter. Very good gun. I know it doesn't look like much, but it's very, very good. It's a very good gun for starters. I used it whenever I was coming in, and it never did me wrong. If you have a friend that can get you a Telos Bolter, it is better in every way. As you can see, it goes from 10, 14 status, 1.8, to 30, 2.4, and 16. It does drop the the slash though, so there's that. But everything else is there, and it's in full force. So just imagine. Up here, this is the MR requirement you needed to use the weapon. I think it's a terrible system, but that's just me. You get MR by maxing out a weapon's rank. The ranks go up from 1 to 30, 30 being the max. Everything has a max rank of 30, and whenever you hit that, you get a little bit of MR. It won't take you long to get up to 12 if you're constantly making new weapons, and chances are you will be. So you don't really need to worry about that a lot. It'll naturally come with your explorations throughout the system. So you don't need to worry. So the Boltor is a good primary, or what you could do is go Bratton. You could stay Bratton. The regular Bratton is decent. Very decent. It's a good starter. I've got the Bratton Prime. It's slightly better. It's nothing to completely awooga over, but it's good. It's okay. Another thing to note, the Bratton Prime is always available for people who want to get it with the via the relic system, and I'll talk about that in a second. A good sidearm would be the Lex. Lex is a very good and trusty sidearm. Look at that crit, very good. Crit multiplier, also very good. Status, I'm not really looking for it, but it's also good. It's just a very good gun. Very good gun. That, and it looks like a pistol. That's a pretty cool pistol. Lex Prime, I believe this is also an evergreen weapon, meaning that it didn't go away. Very good stats. Self-explanatory. And then a good melee. You could just stick with your bow, because that will serve you for the majority of the star chart, up until you come in contact with the Broken War in your travels, in your quests doing. So that's a good one. Another one is the Skiajani. which is another weapon that you get from a quest, a main quest. So, and then another one is a Zorus. This thing. This thing is probably the best because whenever you throw it, it explodes and does a lot of status damage. Slash and puncture, to be specific. This one you get from a side quest. So mostly all of the good weapons you will get from quests as you naturally progress, but those are just some recommendations for starters. Now, in the direction that you would want to go with quests, the sooner you can get to New War, the better. Where is it? The sooner you can get to New War, the better, because that gives you access to Angels of Zariman, which is where you get access to Incarnan weapons, which change the game. Genuinely change the game and how much damage you do. Once you're past Angels of Zariman, you're on the right track. So just in case you missed it, I came over to the Codex, and this is where you access your quests. I would recommend just going through systematically and doing all of them, because you're gonna get something from every single one of them, no matter what it may be. So this is your direction. Over here is the market. This is where you buy blueprints, things for platinum. So a thing with this is that sometimes you will have to check. Sometimes you can buy things for platinum, or if you wanted like a base frame that's not prime, you could just buy the blueprint and then go farm the parts. They all have specific part locations from either assassination targets or modes that are respective to them. So just keep that in mind. You will have to do a little bit of looking whenever you go to hunt down a Warframe that you want and you don't want to spend platinum. So just bear with that. Before I forget, because I have been rambling for quite a minute, this is the relic system. So relics are randomly dropping little balls that you get whenever you complete a mission, normally like an interception or a defense or a capture mission. What they contain are prime parts. Prime parts are used to make prime weapons, prime warframes, stuff like that. They are not hard to get. I will post a format or a node list down below so everyone can get their grind on and look for the specific relic that they're looking for. But there's not much to this other than there are like 5 types of different relics. There are Lith, Mesos, Neos, and Axes, and then for a specific piece of content known as Liches, we have Requiems. These are not really gonna be used for you guys unless you wanted to go down that road. It's not really worth it unless you have like a specific Kuva weapon that you're looking for. Kuva weapons are something that we'll probably look into another video. You guys want that, but relic system, not much to say here. You get a corresponding ball that has what you're looking for in it, and then you have the chance to, or then you have the option to increase the rarity of said drops depending on what you want with void traces. Now void traces you get from opening relics or just being in a fissure. Fissures are the way that you crack these relics. Where do you go to access a fissure, you may ask? You would go here in this little tab right here, void fissures, and then you would look for your relic type, and then you would just select it and then pick the relic you were wanting. So I would suggest you do this in a group if you are really trying to go for a high-end thing like a gold. You would max it out with 100, and then you have other people running the same type of relic and you would max it out. That's called rad sharing. I would do this normally if I was running low on relics, like around 5 or 8 relics. I would rad share, but if you didn't like playing with people, you can pop them regular or separately it's a bit riskier that way, but still. And that is the relic system. So now that we're finally in navigation, after all of that, we have the Nightwave. Nightwave is basically like a battle pass, but it's not monetized, so rejoice, I guess. It's based off these weekly challenges and these dailies that are pretty easy to complete, in my opinion, really. And these rewards are actually decent. You get credits, which are for cred offerings over here. We'll look at that in a second. You get skins, you get potatoes, you get cosmetics, you get more resources, you get more cosmetics, and then these weapon slots, very vital. We'll talk about that after cred offerings. You get a Warframe slot too. Pretty good stuff here normally. Just really good stuff. Keep an eye out, grind this out. It's worth it. It's really worth it, especially if you want something to do. And once you have all your quests completed, really good. Over in the cred offerings, you can also buy more potatoes. 19 extract, which between you and me is a pain in the ass to get, because this is the only way to do it, unfortunately. You get Kuva, kind of useless. You get this thing. I would just consider it a decoration, and then you get more cosmetics. Yeah. You do get some more aura mods here, like EMP, and some of them are augment mods for weapons and Warframes. Blueprints for weapons that were once in alert systems, but now are relegated to this system, or this Nightwave, which I do not like. The offerings have a rotation, so do keep that in mind. They rotate every week. So if you ever see something in the rotation and you really want it, be sure to pick it up before next week, otherwise you may not know whenever it gets rotated back in. So if we hit escape, go to equipment and then inventory, and then go into Warframes or weapons, you can see that we have these weapon slots. Unfortunately, whenever we run out of space, I think you get like 2 or 3 weapon slots to start with, and 3, maybe 2 Warframe slots. It's been a while. Apologies. To start with, you will have to pay or get more via the Nightwave. You will have to pay platinum to get another Warframe slot, but luckily for you, platinum is not that hard to come by, especially if you know how the economy, or what people want, rather, because people will pay for genuinely anything in the sake of convenience. So you can sell like we were talking about Ayatin sculptures earlier. You can sell those for like 15 platinum every 2 sculptures. It's not hard to make plat. Just so some people don't ask me in the comments or after they find this thing and they're like, what's this? These are for arcanes. Arcanes are a plus or an add-on to your Warframes and weaponry that make them even stronger. So let's look at Arcane Aegis, for example. On shield damage, 3% chance for 30% shield recharge for 12 seconds. Very good. Very good for shield Warframes like Hildren or Mag. Not that Mag would need it because she can keep constant uptime with her 4. But yeah, just brushing over this. That's all we'll talk about for this video. Alright, I think that's about it. That's all I can think of for this video. Without going into like even more complicated things, and then I'd be bordering on information overload. So I'll just keep it kind of concise, keep it kind of non-rambly, and end it here. Let me know what you guys think, if I've missed anything, if I could have done better. And just before you go, thank you so much for all your support on the last video. I genuinely wasn't expecting that many people to come and watch my stuff, nor the amount of people that responded and gave me so much good feedback and all the love. Thank you so much. And with that said, thank you guys, and have a great day. Go forth and murder.